It is a Felder Friday edition of College Sports Now, getting ready for what's about to be Week 12 of the college football season. Michael Felder at In the Bleachers on Twitter. Tripp Hurd, the Lock Doctor. Although I can see on the YouTube stream he started to doubt himself. Has the lock been picked? Question marks. We both struggled with our picks last week. I went 1-2. Tripp went 0-3. So that is a 3-game deficit for our boy going into the Week 12 pick'em, which we will, of course, get to.
And that one win for you, how much did you cover that one by?
I don't care. They don't ask you how. They just ask you how many.
Half.
Okay?
Half a point.
Half a point. I'll take it. Shout out to the Cougs laying 20.5. They won by 21 last week. I'd forgotten about that. I've already moved on, Tripp. It sounds like you haven't, but that's okay. We'll get to the picks a little bit later. Lauren Brownlow from the ACC is going to join. She's not from the ACC. She covers the ACC. She's going to join us in about 30 minutes. We're going to talk about the Atlantic Coast Conference with her.
It's a weird situation.
It's a very weird situation. You know, on the surface, there's 3 teams for 2 spots. Clemson needs help. Nobody's talking about SMU. I don't know if you saw the comments from Rhett Lashley, Tripp's boy, head coach of the Ponies, earlier this week. Basically, like, look, when Ole Miss beats Georgia, it's because the SEC is such a deep league.
Right.
But when Georgia Tech beats Miami, the ACC sucks.
Exactly.
So, like, we can't be both. Now, I think he's right. Like, I think the marketing and the promotional aspect of college football, I mean, Felder, we could do a whole show on this, man. Just the way the sport is covered, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say it's unhealthy, but there are parts of it that are very unhealthy.
It's about allocating resources, right? And you get to see where the resources are allocated. And I think that might be the best way to explain that.
Yeah. Just because the ACC has its own network, like the SEC, like the Big Ten,
sure, but it's
mean that they're on the same footing. Yeah.
As someone who's worked through there and auditioned there, they're like, yo, no. With the exception, and I love EJ, I love EMAC, I love those dudes. They do a great job. Mark Richt is with them as well, right? Like, that's great. But the allocation of resources is not the same as what they're giving to, you know, like, even like Mark Packer doesn't get the same thing that Paul Feinbaum gets, right?
No.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
No, you're not crazy. There was Thursday Night Lights, East Carolina, Tulsa. I'm not going to lie. I checked in a little bit, okay? Shout out to the Pirates. They fired Mike Houston. They've won 3 straight. They're going.
I know. That's crazy. It's insane. Like, how does that make you feel?
Look, I'm not going to defend Mike Houston. Like,
okay. I mean,
we brought this up on a Hand in the Dirt episode, which probably came out a week or 2 ago, because we were talking about Charlotte versus ECU.
Right.
Remember what I told you about ECU? I said ECU takes football seriously.
Yes,
Charlotte
they do.
does not. Okay.
They don't know how to.
They don't know how to. They're relatively new to the sport, to the industry. But
yes.
They're goofing around with Biff Poggi. ECU's out here being like, you know what, man? We take this seriously. Like, we expect Dowdy Ficklin to be packed. And if it's not, and if we're losing, we're going to ship your ass out of here. So shout out to ECU. They've won 3 in a row since firing Mike Houston.
They made a choice.
Wins, and they got it done. Yeah, they made a choice. But, like, you know, I respect them for doing it. And, you know, sometimes these teams can rally, and sometimes they don't.
Hey, man.
But nonetheless, ECU got it done. Felder, this is a loaded college football weekend, man. I don't need to sum it up for our listeners, but I will briefly. The top 4 teams in the college football playoff rankings are all playing on the road. I don't expect Ohio State to lose to Northwestern, okay?
No.
But still, like, you got to go on the road. Oregon, Wisconsin could be a little dicey. Texas, Arkansas could be a little dicey. You're shaking your head. You don't think so?
No. I'm more interested at that home game sitting right there at noon. Utah, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. Utah, Colorado.
Well, is that on your Felder 5? Because I want to knock this out before Brownlow shows up in about
Clemson
25 minutes.
Yeah. Let me see. Yes, it is in the Felder 5. It's number 3. Has Utah, like, woken? Are they like Sleeping Beauty, like the prince has kissed her and now they're awake again. Right?
Tripp's laughing.
Why, Tripp? Why are you laughing?
I don't know. That's a great way to put it.
We thought this team was going to win the Big 12, no problem, right?
I'm not buying that. What you're selling with Utah having awoken. In fact, I think it could be the opposite. You're coming off of an emotional loss to your rival in a game in which your athletic director's out here complaining about the officiating and you're moaning and you're crying about it. Where are you at mentally if you're
You think they're going to lose? Hang on, let me see. 1, 2, 3. Do you think they're going to lose 6 games in a row?
Sure. They're a 2-touchdown underdog. Yes, I think they're going to lose. The question's going to be by how many.
Wow.
Dude, Colorado is like the story here.
Colorado is the story. I understand that.
They are an overcovered football program because of Dion, because of
Shadur, absolutely,
because of Travis Hunter. They get plenty of attention, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But you have got to give them their flowers, man, with what they've been able to do since where they were in September.
I am. I'm saying I think that the effort that we've seen out of Utah in the last couple games, obviously, there's still losses, just for the record. There's still losses. But do you not think that they're going to push Colorado?
I don't know. I question. I thought you got max effort from Utah last week in a game in which they could have have won.
Yeah.
Okay, should have won.
Yes.
Salt Lake City was rocking.
Yeah.
That place was an awesome environment, and yet Felder,
they lost.
They caught that L. Now you've got to get up, play a game at 10 a.m. local time.
Mm-hmm.
At Folsom Field. Now, Utah has dominated the series in recent history. They've won 10 of 11. They've won 3 straight in Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, Utah's offense has got to show up and contribute, and they can't, dude. They can't.
They do not show up at all.
They can't. It's not possible. What are you sipping on over there? What's that blue drink, by the way?
No, I know you already know what it is, and you want me to say it.
Well, because it's in a generic bottle. That's an aftermarket bottle there.
It's not an aftermarket bottle.
That's not the bottle that drink came in.
The drink comes in a powder.
Okay.
That I pour into the bottle.
I'm just checking.
This is a Harris Teeter.
Yes.
Spring water. Natural spring water.
And what packet did you drop in there?
Tripp, you know what he's doing? He wants me to say it out loud.
What is it? I can't figure it out. Not Liquid IV.
It's a G0.
G0. Okay.
It's a G0.
Listen, man, if it gets you going, it gets you going. Tripp and I are coffee drinkers.
Can we just another shout out for Harris Teeter real quick? Last night, Thursday, $5.99, 8-piece fried chicken bucket. Wow. Haven't had it in years. Phenomenal.
Did you take down all 8 pieces by yourself, Doc?
I could have. I ate 3.
All right, let's go around the horn. If it's a fried chicken basket or box or whatever,
right?
What piece are you reaching for first?
Thighs.
Thigh.
You guys are thigh guys?
Well, here's the thing. I will take the breast first. Yeah. Because I know that my wife and my kid prefer the thighs, so I'm sacrificing for them.
Classic rad dad move. Totally relatable. Yep.
And there's a lot more space to get that hot sauce in there.
Yeah. I've never had Harris Teeter's fried chicken. I'll be honest.
I was blown
It's good.
away.
It's a nice little bucket. Comes in a bucket. It's good. KFC, get out of here. Unless you want to sponsor the show. But Bojangles, sure.
They had a line waiting in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Had to wait about 15 minutes.
Yeah, sometimes that hot bar line with the fried chicken. We're a Publix family because the Harris Teeters in Winston just aren't really that strong. Now Tripp lives in Greensboro. For those of you listening locally, like he's got more options.
Yeah,
slightly larger market DMA in Greensboro than in Winston.
We got
our Teeters here just aren't really coming that strong, dude.
My Harris Teeter, bro. You know what I do every now and then?
We know about the Mecklenburg, South Charlotte, bougie ass Harris Teeter scene. We know all about that.
Bro, every now and then, you know what your boy does? I pick up one of the crispy shrimp, spicy crispy shrimp sushi. Let my wife take that. They got a sushi chef on staff. I let her take that for lunch to school. Boom.
What a guy! I mean, what?
Romeo. And to go back, to circle back, to stay in the Big 12, by the way, Kansas. Did you see this past week coming?
How could you not? I mean,
you saw it coming.
I didn't see it coming, but I certainly saw what they were doing to Iowa State. Every time you looked up, it was like somebody in blue just streaking down the sidelines.
They had black jerseys on, though.
Whatever. It was, you get my point. It was an offensive coming out party.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
They were the spear of the tip of the spear in Arrowhead.
Let's bring the doc in on this, because this is one of those lines. BYU once again being disrespected in the market.
Yeah. What are they?
Favored by less than a field goal against a team that on the surface is 3-6. I know Kansas is 0-5 in one-score games. Like, the margins have been very thin for them, and they've been on the wrong side of everything. But man, how can you not like BYU in this spot, Doc? What do you think?
I'm done.
Are you serious?
In any game with Kansas involved.
Thank you.
Been on the wrong side of them all year. No idea what to expect. Really more upset with Iowa State than Kansas right now. Iowa State
undefeated and then just
undefeated and looked like they had one of the better defenses in the country. They gave up 532 yards last week to Kansas, a 2-6 Kansas team.
Thanks for the memories, Iowa State. Appreciate it. Matt Campbell, hope you enjoy hanging out in Ames for another decade, bro, because you ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Pat Fitzgerald situation, right?
You know, the Kansas thing for us, we talked about these guys in August, like how excited we were. For Jalen Daniels and Devin Neal, who, by the way, shout out to Devin Neal. He's now the program's all-time leading rusher. Great story. Awesome. Good for him.
Yes.
But we've been waiting for Kansas's offense to start clicking, and they kept stubbing their toe, like Illinois, UNLV, these non-conference games where Jalen Daniels is just turning the ball over.
Yeah.
Like just giving it away.
9 interceptions on the season.
Yeah, but how many of those has he had since October? I think just one.
One.
Yes,
one.
Let's go. We're cooking.
But I will say this. He was 12 for 24 against Iowa State.
12 completions for how many yards, though? I mean,
come on, man. What are you getting? Can I say my thing?
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Home run hitter.
12 yards per attempt. Attempt, not completion. Attempt. And if you're only 50-50 on if the guy's going to catch the football and you're still over a first down for each one of those, that means that you've got big yardage going. And that's the part that's been interesting to me. And so when you go to the receiving numbers and you look at what they do receiving-wise, 25 yards per reception. 25 yards per reception. Which I'm not math guy here. We know that. I know you're not either, Stephen, because you're an English major.
Yeah, we're putting that to great use here on this podcast. Yeah.
But what we're looking at, though, is he completed 50% of his passes. I can do that math in my head. And then they're averaging 25 yards per reception. So every catch is double the actual incompletion rate.
Hashtag math.
There we go. I don't want this to turn into the shrinkage thing.
Am I allowed to talk now, or should I? Are you done?
No, I can say more if you want.
Well, here's what I was going to say. You've got Kansas at BYU Saturday night. By the way, that's the Roddy Jones special. Look, check out our boy.
We will
on ESPN 10:15 Eastern.
Oh.
Who does Kansas play next week, Felder?
I'm not looking at the schedule right now.
Colorado.
Oh,
so
that's a problem.
You have got a situation brewing in the Big 12, which, yes, BYU is undefeated. Yes, they're sitting pretty in the CFP rankings. What are they, 6 this week?
Yeah.
You've got a situation where little old Kansas, who has underperformed this year at 3-6 overall, and as we mentioned, 0-5 in one-score games. They've been right there. Okay, they just haven't gotten it done. Now you've got Kansas favored by, a 3-point underdog in Provo, and then hosting Colorado next week. They have a chance to wreck the Big 12. I mean, just absolutely
Destroy it.
Take this thing and drive it off the cliff.
Turn them into a one-bid league.
What Cincinnati should have done last week, they've now got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
They could turn them into a one-bid league.
Their last few.
Why? No. No.
Felder, focus, buddy. That bird's not getting into your house. Just leave it alone. It's not. Just close the blinds, man. Did you not know Felder's terrified of birds?
No,
he is.
I almost started crying.
Do you need a moment?
No, I'm fine. We're good. I almost started crying though, for real. Like they land on the screen and sit there, and I can see them, and it makes me feel insane.
They can't get into your house, man.
You don't know that.
Is your window open?
No.
Then there's no. Look at me. Look at me. Hey, you're fine. There's no way they can get into your house.
I don't like it.
There's no way they can get in. If they want to try to bust through that window, they're going to break their neck and die. Buddy.
All right, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go out there after we do the show, and I'm going to make sure there's not like a nest or something there, because I can't. This can't be like my life. I can't do it.
If there is, what are you going to do?
I'm going to 100% get rid of it.
You can call the cops. You're not going to get rid of that nest because you're going to be terrified. You're not going to be able to function.
No, you know how when moms can muster this extra strength when their kid's in danger?
Yeah, sure.
That's what I can do when it comes to birds.
I'm rooting for you, buddy.
All right, I'm going to focus. I think Nussmeier's going to give your boys the business.
I don't.
Really?
Where's LSU's head right now?
They're done. It's over.
They're cooked.
Go play football.
You guys got absolutely embarrassed by Alabama last week.
Which, by the way, can we just say, if it's me, Ashton Genty, we'll take our time that we take. Ashton Genty should be your front runner for the Heisman. I think Jalen Milroe should be your number 2.
Wow.
Who is number 2 right now?
Who's number 2?
Heisman odds.
Is it still Cam Ward? Did he go from 1 to 2?
Dude, you've got Quinn Ewers creeping up. You've got Dylan Gabriel creeping up. I haven't heard a lot of Jalen.
I love Dylan Gabriel. I think Dylan Gabriel should probably be number 4. Travis Hunter obviously is sitting there probably at 3.
What are your Heisman odds as we go into Week 12, Doc?
Let's see here.
No, don't read it. Tell me.
No, this was from November 12th. They actually had Travis Hunter at the top.
Just 3 days ago. That's still after the last week of games, so that counts.
I think Nuss is going to struggle in the swamp.
I don't.
Okay.
The swamp hasn't been that intimidating, if we're being honest.
I mean, look at the team that they're trotting out each week. I mean, I get it, man. I understand. Lagway expected to play, by the way, for Florida.
That'll be interesting. Helps. I don't understand, and maybe what did Roddy say about like soft tissue injuries, like hamstring stuff, like pulls?
He's like, it's impossible to like.
There's no timeline
to predict, and basically the initial MRI they took was everything was so swollen, like they couldn't see anything, basically.
Right. That's what because I listened to it and I was like, Roddy said there's no way of knowing. Right.
Roddy's whole take was like, there's no need on God's green earth for you to ever need a cart for a hamstring injury. Just get off the field.
Don't get me started on that.
And if you watch the Georgia game, like Tripp and I are in the Blitz studios, we're watching all these games, but we don't have audio on.
Right. Neither do
television. You would have thought DJ Lagway had died.
Right. Okay? I thought this was like a serious thing.
Me too. Non-contact injury.
And it is serious. Hang on. It is serious. It's not a good injury, but this isn't a blown out knee, like a torn ACL.
Right.
He pulled his. Do you remember watching football and guys would pull their hamstrings and just jog off?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Correct.
And I understand, and I want to say this. I want to put this out too. If you've never been hurt, getting hurt does feel terrifying. It is scary, and you don't know what to do.
Which is what happened to DJ.
Exactly.
Like
right.
That's
so I want to put that out there too. I'm not trying to sit here and make fun of this kid. I'm saying that he just has never really been hurt. So he's always been the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, and it's always worked, and everything's always worked for him. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh no. Was that bad? Is that bad? How bad is this? So, but yeah, I agree with Roddy. But the bigger thing to me is when you have one of those, like a pull or like a slight tear or something, everybody's body is different.
Sure. And
so you don't know what's going to happen. I do think Nussmeier is going to give them the business, though, just to circle back to my point. Okay, he's good. He's good.
Sure. Yeah, he's good. But I think Florida's going to get theirs. Go ahead, Doc.
Officially, right now, Travis Hunter is the favorite to win the Heisman.
Seriously?
Dylan Gabriel is plus 350. Genty plus 400. Cam Ward plus 700. There's a guy, Curtis Rourke. Man, they could find a little
Indiana
magic
quarterback.
Weekend.
Yeah.
They could find a little magic next weekend. That's plus 1,500. That's pretty
Shut
cheap
the front door.
What's your source, Doc? Where are we getting these odds from?
DraftKings.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
Jalen Milroe is right after Rourke. Jalen is
he's after
plus 1,800.
I'm mad now.
Who's your
what?
I know this is an SEC question, not an Indiana question. I know you're not a huge prediction guy. Who do you have going to Atlanta? Because you have 8 teams in the SEC alive for 2 spots.
Yeah, I know. I think it's probably going to be Alabama and Texas.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, Alabama and Texas.
Now Texas has to win at College Station. Last game of the regular season.
Are we going to be looking at an A&M Alabama SEC championship game?
If A&M wins against Texas, they're going to Atlanta.
Yeah, I know.
But I think Bama's that other team. I do.
Yeah. But I think that, you know why they're that other team? Because of who? You think it's because of Kalen DeBoer?
No. I think the game plan for DeBoer coming out of the bye was pretty awesome. I mean, they
Sure, but
they neutralized that game pretty early.
Who? If they get to Atlanta, if Alabama gets to Atlanta,
healthy Jalen Milroe. Yep,
it's Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, and I don't think that guy's been healthy prior to the bye week. Okay, I mean his inability to run.
But what does he do?
Mobility. Yeah,
he finds a way.
Dude, that 76-yard touchdown run he had against LSU late, like first play of the fourth quarter, I think it was. Just. I mean, beautiful.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, awesome. That guy was untouched.
And here's the thing,
fastest player on the field.
And I don't know if this is an ESPN thing. I don't know what it is, but I love that there's somebody on a Steadicam when they go to halftime, and they show Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is the first guy into the tunnel, and then he turns around.
Yes.
And he tries to dap up every single player and say, let's go. We can get this done.
Yeah.
That is a leader.
Yeah.
That is exemplary in college football to me. That is someone that lets you know, I care about you, even if you're not getting in the game.
Right.
Dap them up. Hey, man, I need you. Come with me, and we will get to the promised land.
Dude, that's so well said. Roddy brought this up earlier in the week, too. And I had a chance to interview Jalen Milroe in the summer at media days. And I was blown away. I had no idea.
He's amazing.
Like, that guy is just like, I mean, look, you see these players and you recognize them as elite athletes, but you have no idea, unless you're around the program, what these people are like as people, as individuals. Jalen Milroe walks into a room and that guy's just alpha.
Yeah.
Just like
But it's not even alpha. It's not even alpha. It's like he's so alpha, he's able to make himself smaller to make other people feel important.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And maybe that is like the true point of being an alpha, is to make he is someone that plays on a team that he makes everybody else better. He makes everybody else better. He makes guys, honestly, maybe who shouldn't even believe in themselves. He makes them believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Because he believes in them. And I think that's the thing I really love. And I don't know, man, I think he's my favorite player in college football.
Oh, let's go.
I do. Like, truly. Like, usually I always pick a defensive back, right? Or I pick a hybrid linebacker or something. I think Jalen Milroe is my favorite player this season in college football.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
I hate picking a quarterback. It feels cliche. But what he's able to do, what he's willing to give to this team of himself, of decision-making, the way he's able to and look, you and I have gone back and forth on this. You don't like his decision-making.
Well, he went through a stretch where, the guy he's giving the ball to Vanderbilt. He's giving the ball to South Carolina. He had a rough spell there for a couple weeks.
He did. But again, we talked about it, and he was pressing. And now I think that as we get into the back end of the season, these other guys around him recognize Jalen's going to give us everything he has.
Yeah.
So we have to give him everything that we've got to.
Yeah.
And that's the part I really like about watching him play. Do we have time for one more?
Sure.
All right. Where do we want to go? We want to go to, you know what? Let's save Tennessee, Georgia for later. Shane Beamer. If they beat Mizzou, because I was doing radio in Charlotte yesterday, and obviously we have a huge Gamecocks constituency here.
Sure.
Shane Beamer wins this game against the top 25 Mizzou team. Still don't know how they're still in the top 25, by the way. They win this game. Where does he fit, like, in terms of, like, his status with the Gamecock Nation? They feel pretty good about things, right?
So here's the thing. Shane Beamer is in, year 3 at South Carolina?
I believe so.
He overachieved in year 1.
Yes, he did.
Beat Clemson, right? Beat Tennessee, knocked Hendon Hooker.
Yes.
Hendon had been knocked out of the game, or maybe they knocked him out in that game. But that was the Tennessee team that all they had to do was beat South Carolina and Vanderbilt. They were going to the CFP.
This is year 4.
Year 4, okay. He overachieved early. So last year when he doesn't make it to a bowl, you're like, here we go. Here comes the regression. South Carolina's dangerous.
Yeah.
Lenora Sellers, who at the beginning
I like
of the
him.
year, look, couldn't stay healthy, left the LSU game. They're figuring it out. Like, that's a program, that's a team that, like, you've gotten better since when you started in September. And that's all you can ask for, man. Those guys are dangerous. That's one of the 8 teams that's still alive. It's unlikely they make it to Atlanta, but they're a double-digit favorite against Missouri. I think it's an awesome story, man. I think South Carolina fans realize, like, unlike Tennessee,
they're a double-digit favorite against Missouri?
Oh, it's climbing. It's climbing to the point where you got to bet Missouri. They're going to be laying so many points.
What is Missouri done against ranked? Yes, but let's go back in time.
I know Missouri's soft, but Jesus, 14, that seems like a lot. But I was going to say, South Carolina, you look at their schedule all year, they've had one bad week. It was the Ole Miss game. That's the only bad week they've had. They lost an absolute shootout that they should have won against LSU. And then they missed a field goal, or I think they missed a couple of field goals where they could have won at Alabama. They steamrolled Oklahoma at Oklahoma. They blew out A&M with everybody watching. Then they beat Vandy on the road last week, and that's a good win. They beat Vandy by 3 touchdowns.
That was I was. Were you guys surprised by that? Because I was.
Yes.
I thought, and obviously
just stroll into Diego Pavia's house and disrespect him like that.
He is obviously hurt.
Doesn't matter. That dude's trying to get another year.
He's obviously he's not okay.
Look good in the garnet.
Diego's out here suing the NCAA. He wants another year.
Yeah.
He wants to run it back with Clark Lee. Love Diego.
I think
I think we all love Diego. All right, you ready to knock this last one out? And then we can, because we'll talk about it on the back end too. Oh, you know what? Let's do one of the rest.
No. I want to save it because our guest is here. Lauren
Brownlow,
kind enough to join us on a Friday. You look great. Hair's looking good, Lauren. Thank you for making the time. Appreciate you joining us. Purveyor of all things ACC. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
We have saved the ACC talk for you. How are we feeling? Like, CFP rankings come out on Tuesday night. We see Miami's dropped. Is this a one-bid league? Like, are we destined for a one-bid ACC? How are we feeling?
I mean, I think it kind of depends on what Clemson does, to be honest. Yeah. I think Clemson's in the best position. And I think what I've learned through like the first few rounds of rankings this year is, unless it's the SEC, maybe it's not necessarily about your conference right now. It's more about like your brand name and your cachet with the committee. Like a Miami maybe didn't get dinged as much as some people thought they should have or could have been. And I think they got treated pretty fairly. Clemson, we've seen get credit from the committee. But if you're a team like Indiana, for instance, and you're undefeated, you're not going to get as much credit just because you're in the Big Ten alone is not going to give them the kind of cred that they want for being undefeated and blowing almost everybody out. You know what I mean? So I think that's sort of an interesting thing that I've been watching. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll shake itself out. I don't think SMU, I mean, they have a shot at it for sure. You know, it really just kind of depends on what everybody else does too. And that's part of the problem. Like you kind of need some of these teams to play their way out of it, so to speak, or to get those third losses or not playing a conference title game or whatever it is. And then maybe the ACC could sneak another one in there for sure. But Clemson losing certainly didn't help.
No, it didn't help at all. I'm gonna dial into the triangle real quick. And Duke takes down NC State. NC State fans, I'll say it. I'll be honest. They might be the most volatile fans in the state of North Carolina. And they are looking at, and UNC is just kind of like, Mac Brown gets to hang out as long as he wants, right? Like what's happening from a coaching situation? They're happy with Duke's happy with their coach, but UNC and NC State are like, what are we going to do?
Well, I mean, look, Carolina is kind of in a tough position because, I mean, if you'd asked like a month ago, right, I think we would all be like, oh, Mac's in big trouble. It's just a matter of time. But
how much trouble can Mac be in, though? Because the people with the money like him, and he likes them, and he's nice to them.
You're right. But at the same time, when you're coming off like letting James Madison put up 70 on you at home and losing a 20-point lead at Duke, like people didn't like that. People were not happy, as you could understand, you know, and then they weren't having success. And so it became a thing of like, all right, well, you can't get humiliated. Like that's not going to be on the table for even the boosters that like him. But now, you know, they've got 17 sacks in the last 2 games, which is like absurd for any team, much less a North Carolina team that has not been good defensively. And so like, you know, if they're playing this way to end the year and they're able to like string some wins together, now you kind of lose momentum for any case you might have had, I think, or any bad feelings the boosters had towards him at that point. You know, like what do? You can't be like, oh, it's not working right now if they end the year playing well.
Yeah.
Is change coming for either of those programs as we go into the offseason, Lauren? Because like Felder mentioned NC State, like relative to preseason expectations, they've been a tremendous disappointment.
Yeah, with State, you know, it's sort of a tough situation because, look, I think some of it is, yes, State fans have some volatility in them for sure. I mean, we all understand this. But I also think there's a degree of like, sometimes the same thing becomes tiring, especially when you see it over and over again, or like an iteration of the same thing that plays itself out. So there's this notion that, you know, State fans could do better with their coaching, right? My counter to that is like, are you sure? And are you sure you want to try? That's my only thing, because like Dave Doran, does he have a low ceiling? Maybe, you know, you could certainly make that case based on what they've been able to do, but does he have he has a high floor though. And not every coach you're going to hire is going to have that high floor, in my opinion. Right. And you got to look at other stuff too, like NIL money, and State fans, I think, are a little upset because they feel like they spent for the offense and it's not being allowed to be utilized in the way that they want. And, you know, they've always had that issue with Dave. It's not just now, but for sure, when the offense struggles, it becomes very easy and they lose games they had chances to win, and sitting on the ball didn't work. State fans get frustrated. I think they blame probably a few too many things on Dave, in my opinion. It's like, it just becomes an issue of like anything that doesn't work in the game is like Dave screwing up or whatever. Or I don't think it's always that serious. But at the same time, I do get the notion that like, what's the common denominator with all of these underperforming offenses? It's Dave,
Yeah.
So I get that.
So I'm gonna keep it in the state. ECU fires their coach, wins 3 games. Do they hire the interim? Or do they go out and get like Garrett Riley? Do they go? What's his name? At North Carolina Central. I think he would be a great coach for them. Knows the state, knows the region, knows that Tidewater area as well. Like, what do they do? Do they hire the interim because they've won 3 in a row?
That's a good question. I don't know. I was surprised they fired him when they did.
Yeah.
Mike Houston. Because like there normally needs to be like a reason, right? Like you have to, there needs to be something to be gained out of it. And so, I have yet to see that. Maybe it'll be in who they hire.
Well, they gained 3 wins in a row.
Well, yes, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, why do that now? But I was surprised. And I was a big proponent of the hire in the first place. I thought Mike Houston was terrific. So I'm still surprised that it didn't work out. But yeah, I do think you got to get somebody in there that knows that area really well, because that's their bread and butter. And, they've been able to steal some guys in the past, even from like the so-called bigger schools in the state, the power schools in the state, just because they're in on them from the beginning and whatnot. But half the time they just get pissed because the Carolina and state and local recruiters will sweep in there as soon as they've been working some dude for like years and years. And all of a sudden the state schools will be like, oh, look at that guy, and then sweep in and get him. But some of those guys stick with them. And I think to work those areas is important. And that would be a really good hire for them, but I have no idea what they're going to do. I mean, it does seem like you would want to hire the guy that's been winning you games. That's a trap that schools fall into a lot, but
yes,
I don't know if that's the best move necessarily, just because it feels like the sentimental correct one,
Yeah,
Felder
we saw it with Larry.
ECU football. He's a big Pirate fan.
I am a Pirate fan, yes, but no, Trey Oliver is who I was thinking about from North Carolina Central. Trey Oliver. But we saw it happen with Larry Coker at Miami. Saw it happen with Bill Stewart at West Virginia. Do you want to fall into that same trap? So, Hartzell, what do you got?
I'll throw Brent Key out there, man. Like interim head coach at Georgia Tech, right? Like rallies the troops, and now he's got the Jackets headed to back-to-back bowl games. You love to see it. I want to ask about SMU, Lauren.
Wasn't Dabo an interim too, or am I making that up? There you go.
Yeah, that worked out pretty well for Clemson.
After Tommy Bowden.
What did you think of? What did you think of Rhett Lashley's comments earlier this week? Talking about the ACC in terms of, hey, when Ole Miss beats Georgia, it's because the SEC is a really deep league, right? They got a lot of parity. But when Miami loses at Georgia Tech, the ACC sucks, right? Like, what did you think of that? How much truth was that in what you heard from the coach at SMU?
I mean, I've been saying that. Like, what are we doing with Missouri ranked? Like, as if we all don't have eyeballs. I'm sorry.
You weren't you weren't here. And that is the thing that you weren't even on the show yet. And that is the thing that I said about the South Carolina Mizzou game.
Like for the committee's like, we're not SEC biased, ranks Missouri. I'm like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Like, and it is like, it's frustrating because like I saw people do this with Vanderbilt, for instance, right? Like where people were like, oh, when Vanderbilt beats somebody, it's because this is a new Vandy. And if like Wake Forest beats somebody in a given year in the ACC, it's framed as a fail and shouldn't happen. And Wake sucks. Like Wake never gets like new Wake. It's never talked about that way. There is truth in that, but it gets frustrating for me too. Cause I'm like, well, I mean, Vandy is different now though too. So like, we don't have to, we don't have to act like that's not true to act like it is also true that Wake is good when they beat those teams. You know what I mean? And so, but it's all in the way that it's talked about, like when the ACC is beating each other up and eating each other, it's always, oh, well, that means no one's good. And then now that people are beating each other in that league, it's like, that's just because it's so deep. It's like, okay, it gets tiring for people. And I totally understand. I feel the same way, but there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. Like, welcome your new overlords. It is what it is. Sorry.
Felder's drinking. I'm
not. No, hang on. No. I'm this is water.
Yeah,
Don't say Felder's drinking.
I didn't mean like alcohol. I just meant you were pausing to refill your mug. Back to SMU, Lauren. If it's SMU Miami in Charlotte, that's your ACC championship game, right?
What does that game look like?
If the chalk holds, that's my question. Like,
Ooh,
I feel like there's going to be a lot of empty seats if it's SMU Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Yeah. Look, you can say what you want about Clemson getting there every year and how tiring it gets to some segments of ACC people, but guess what? They fill it up. Yeah. Like they will come fill it up. And even like, when a Carolina gets in there, for instance, like their fans will show up for that as well to fill it up. But like when Pitt's been in it, it's been a struggle at times, or whoever else. And I get it. Like it's not the best time of year to like plan out a special trip to Charlotte for a game that may or may not mean a whole lot, but it could for SMU. Maybe they've got a lot of oil money. Maybe their fans have some of that too and can make the trip, but probably not.
Well, no, hang on. I will say this: Dallas to Charlotte is an easy flight.
Yeah,
that is an easy flight.
American Airlines hubs, right?
Yes, 2 hubs, easy, cheap, go. You mentioned the oil money. Like, yes, I think SMU as a team that went from, I don't want to say zero to hero, but as a team that is they're coming out of what, the AAC?
Yeah.
Yes.
Into the ACC, they're part of the conversation now. Yeah. If they make it to Charlotte, I do think that they will show up. I think they might show up more than Miami fans.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the same thing because like, what is that
private schools? So we'll see, but yeah.
Yeah. Like that's not the game Miami fans are waiting to go to. You know what I mean? Like that's not the one. So, but for SMU, like I could see why that would be like a big deal. And obviously, maybe that would be something that but I still don't think the numbers will be like very good if that's the game. No, but will it be intriguing because of like all the storylines that play in that game?
Right.
Yeah, 100%. But, regardless of the reasons, like it doesn't matter what kind of schedule you have. Like SMU fans don't care about that. They don't care how strong their league schedule was. Like they're just trying to win the games that are in front of them. And they've done that. So, like we'll see. I think if they get to the end of the year with 1 or 2 losses, they would certainly have a case because like their only other loss is to BYU.
Bingo.
I don't know. Like I get why they're not super high because I also I've seen them play some too. Like I don't know that I would make I'm not stomping my feet that they need to be a ton higher, but at the same time, you look at the results and you're like, okay, they're only losses to an undefeated team. Like,
right.
I don't know.
They moved down this past week. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Did you notice that, Hartzell?
No.
They moved down a spot in the college football playoff rankings. They didn't do it.
Got to make room for all those SEC teams, Felder.
Yes. Really. Like they needed to make room for an SEC team that lost that they wanted to keep ahead of them, I'm sure. So
yeah. I'm counting right now. That's what I'm doing. I'm counting Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss. Those are 4 winners. They all won. Georgia took a 2-score loss?
Yep. Felt like more, but yeah.
It did. It could have been, should have been more. And they're like, you know what? We're going to put them here, and then we'll just move Boise State and SMU down.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
What?
I mean, we all like, that's the thing. Like, we all understand kind of what the game is at this point. And it is what it is. Like, I'm not saying like it's all rigged or anything. It's not like those teams aren't good. It's just more of a thing of like, you can see certain teams being rewarded and punished and whatever. And like results only matter, but so much. And that gets frustrating, I think, for fans for sure, because you're like, well, how many games would those teams have to lose to like be out of the conversation? Like at a certain point, like when does the result on the field actually matter more than like how many stars these guys have? And I get that part matters. Like we all understand it does, but I mean, like, you can't just play the games out like on paper and in simulations. Like the results have to matter too.
Yeah. Lauren, it's college basketball season. Before we let you go, you've been dabbling in some hardwood hoops. Are you all in on like
hardwood hoops?
Yeah, hoops on the hardwood.
It's one or the other. Just say pick
basketball.
one.
It's college basketball. You know, Duke's supposed to be good.
Christ.
You know, all that stuff. You've been watching.
I mean, it's tough for me because I'll admit, like, maybe it's just like my advancing age or whatever, but like, it's hard for me to hold the space in my brain to like closely follow. I'm in college football mode right now. Like, I still am.
Right.
I'm still in that mode. There's only a couple more weeks left. I'm like, all right, let's grind this out. And then all of a sudden they're like, college basketball, November 1st or Halloween or whatever. I'm like, what are we doing right now? Like, how am I supposed to hold space for this? This is like the creep of it coming like earlier and earlier. I don't like it. I'm not here for it. I'm against it. But I do think like one way to get people in, you know, is like a game, you know, Carolina at Kansas, like seriously, of course, like even if you're kind of a casual college basketball fan, you're going to hear, if you hear that game's on, you're going to want to watch it. Like Duke, Kentucky, you know, playing the Champions Classic. I was all in for that. You know, I wanted to watch every second of that, but I don't want to watch like Carolina, you know, Lipscomb. No offense to Lipscomb, you know what I mean? Or whatever. I'm just like, I'm not interested in that this time of year. That's where I've always just found it hard in the beginning of the year because they have all these games, and I get it. They have to have those games early and whatever before you get into conference play. But it's also like, can't you put those like during like the Christmas holidays or something? Just backload them there. Get people into the season and invested, and sprinkle some of those big games throughout so people will be in. But it's like, what's the, you know, the earlier games, a lot of them, it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of point to watching them. You know, it's almost like you got to wait for these teams to find themselves a little bit. Duke's really fun to watch. You know, Carolina is going to be fun. You know, State coming off the Final Four. I'm excited to watch basketball around here, but it's also like, let me live for a minute. Like, we got like a couple weeks left of this college football thing. Like, don't encroach my spaces.
Well, we have a couple of weeks. I want to ask you about one game. This is the only one. BC, SMU. Can BC like upset this apple cart? Because they seem like a team they have been so close. BC and Syracuse to me seem like the two teams that have been so close to like doing something.
Yeah.
Can BC be a problem for SMU?
I mean, maybe. Like, I mean, I don't know.
That's the problem. Who knows?
Yeah, like, I mean, and I don't, like, BC seems like a bit of a mess right now with the you know, Castellanos situation being what it is. And
Robichaux.
I just don't know that I trust them to do a whole lot. And
you don't have to. It makes sense.
But SMU, it's not like, I mean, look, Duke's a good team, so I'm not trying to say that they're not, but like, they turned it over 6 times I saw it. Duke should have won that game. Like, you know, and Duke made them look kind of ordinary at times. And I think
they still won.
Yes, they still won. So like, what can I possibly say? Right. But at the same time, it's like, do I think they're vulnerable? Yeah. Do I think they're vulnerable to like BC? I'm not feeling that one as much.
Okay. There we go.
If you like Boston College, you can get BC at like +20 in that game.
Okay.
That I would take. That's the thing. That I would take because like 20 is a lot.
It's a lot of
20
points.
That's too many.
Too many. Too many points, says Lauren Brownlow. Lauren, thank you for hopping on a Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Don't let November wear you down, okay? We got, like you said, we got a long way to go. We got Thanksgiving coming up in 2 weeks, so pace yourself, okay?
I'll do my best. Y'all too.
Thank you.
All right.
We shall. We absolutely shall. Lauren Brownlow, kind enough to join us here on a Friday. Appreciate her hopping on. And good stuff there. Felder.
She's great, dude. She's one of my favorites.
Listen, if you want BC, you can get them for That's My Dog a little bit later in the show. They're catching 19.5 in Dallas against SMU, if you're into that sort of thing. So there you go. Love to see it. Love to see it. All right, back to the Felder 5. We have been saving the game of the week for, 45 minutes into the show. I don't know if that's good producing or bad producing, but we're going to ride with it anyway. Let's talk Tennessee and Georgia. What you got for me?
All right. No Nico, right?
That's not confirmed.
It's not confirmed.
He's in concussion protocol.
Bro. Okay, I don't mean to like get on my soapbox.
I'm not a doctor. I'm just don't say
I'm not
Nico's
a doctor
not
either.
Play. We don't know. It's Friday morning. We have no idea.
If he played, what's the last game he played? Saturday?
He played last week. He left the game in the second half with an apparent head injury. Yeah.
When I was at UNC, we had a 10-day mandatory sit-out. It wasn't called concussion protocol. You were done for 10 days. If you get knocked out, if you register a TBI, traumatic brain injury, if you register that, you sit out 10 days.
Okay.
You don't work out. The only thing you do, you go to meetings. Like, I was wearing sunglasses in meetings because the light affected my eye. You walk around the track. And let's keep in mind, and I don't know what the listeners are going to think. It's not because I was weak. It's not because I didn't want to play. 10 days.
Right.
The doctor said, you got to sit out 10 days. You have to. Then we'll see where you are. Now this concussion protocol, instead of saying he has a concussion, you have to sit out 10 days. Now it's called concussion protocol, which means what? What does that mean? What does it mean?
I mean, he's being evaluated daily.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not a doctor, but it sounds like it's going to be very much a game time decision, and we're going to find out late Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening after warm-ups.
I am a doctor, and I don't think he's going to play. And I honestly don't know how much it matters because
thank you.
I don't think either one of these coaches, how in the world could they trust either one of these quarterbacks right now?
Like, I truly, like, well, that was the other thing. The point I hate this idea of concussion protocol because you either get a concussion or you don't. You get knocked out or you don't. And if that happens, you need time. Now, let's get to this football game. I don't think it matters if he plays or not. What has he done that's been amazing? What has he done that's won them football games?
Nothing lately.
Lately, what has he done win?
I mean, in September, he came on.
Yeah,
he
looked like
everybody
Heisman winner.
No,
yes.
let's go. Come on.
Look, I'm willing to acknowledge that was against UT Chattanooga and Kent
Okay,
State.
thank you.
And NC State, although that's when we started our multiple turnover streak that continued for a couple of games.
NC State, two interceptions. He threw for 211 yards. Wow. It's amazing.
Look,
oh my God.
You can't tell me Tennessee is better off if they've got a third-string former walk-on from UCF playing between the hedges on Saturday night. They're obviously better if Nico plays.
Are they worse off?
Are they worse off if what?
What's the difference?
Come on.
Gaston. They're playing with the guy from Beauty and the Beast.
There's a significant difference.
No, this team. Here's what I'm going to say. And I want folks to listen to this because I've thought about this a lot. Tennessee lives and dies with Dylan Sampson. Correct?
Yes.
They live and die with Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson is 600 yards, maybe 700 yards shy of Nico Iamaleava. That's in rushing. Just him getting the ball and running. He's what are we doing? And he has more touchdowns than Nico.
A lot more. Yeah.
He's doubling this guy up. That's it. They live and die with Dylan Sampson. Guess what? You know who's going to play in this game?
Dylan Sampson?
Yeah. And then the other part for them, hang on, let me find it. James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, Aaron Carter. God, I forgot his name was Aaron Carter. That one gets me every time.
Those guys are problems.
Can't nobody do it like Aaron can. Do you even know what that's a song?
No, I don't.
Do you know Tripp?
He was the Backstreet Boys little brother.
Yes, that's how I beat Shaq. Yeah.
He died, right?
Wait, what? Oh no! Is that bad?
I'm pretty sure he's
Did you just kill him? If he's not dead and you just killed him, that's gonna be terrible.
I'm almost 100% sure he's dead.
Man, now I got to scrub all this from the episode.
Yeah, 2022.
Damn.
But Aaron's party was a bop, dog. So shout out to Aaron Carter, RIP. We love you always. We stand a king. He had a song called Aaron's Party about how his parents went out to dinner and he had a party at his house.
It's relatable.
And he tried to but your parents are going out to dinner, dude. Like, they're not going out of town for the weekend.
You got 2 hours. Let's let it fly. Come on.
Yeah. So Aaron's, I listened to that song a lot when my dad took away my FM radio, and I got grounded for a long time. And so I only had AM radio, and it was sports talk radio or Radio Disney. So yeah. I'm just telling, I don't think that Nico I think these defensive players, I think Tennessee and Brownlow brought it up with UNC as well, right? 17 sacks in the last 3 games. Ole Miss, which we saw, what did they have? 5 sacks against Georgia, and then 9 tackles for loss, plus 5 pressures and all that. And those are 5 recorded pressures. I think that what we're seeing are teams that aren't as big, right? They don't have Shy Tuttle on this defense anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they have to be incredibly penetrative. They have to be incredibly quick. They got to make themselves skinny. They have to be disruptive. And we saw Ole Miss do that to Georgia.
Yeah.
Why can't Tennessee do that to them?
I think they can.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Tennessee, what they may or may not have on the field. Georgia's going to be without ETN. That's confirmed.
So what's the difference? Who cares?
He's their leading rusher, okay?
He's
So
their
now you're
leading.
putting-
Okay, no, hang on.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
their
we-
leading rusher. What does that mean?
That means that you don't have your leading rusher on the
You don't
field.
have your guy that ran for 477 yards this year?
Yeah, you do this all the time with these injuries. Like, we talked about this in the very first game of the year. I don't know.
Hartzell, 477 yards. What is that, a
Okay.
third of what Samson has?
Okay, well, here's my point. You still so
They
now
can't run the ball.
So now we're gonna ask Carson Beck, who's seeing ghosts.
Yes,
Okay,
agreed.
who is a turnover machine
Mhm.
and a turnstile of an offensive line. Now we're just gonna say, hey man, we're gonna need you to drop back and throw it 40 times. Because
No,
we don't have anybody who can take pressure off you in the backfield.
no. Look, why do you? Say
He doesn't take pressure off of him in the
Why do you
backfield.
think they don't have anybody in the backfield? They're Georgia. Of course, they got somebody.
They don't. They can't
Who?
run the ball.
They-
Who?
They can't
Tripp,
run the
who?
ball.
They'll
They-
probably run for 300 yards now, just because you're saying this.
I
I
feel
mean,
if they run for 300 yards, that would be as many yards as Nate Frazier has ran for through 8 games.
Tripp,
Yeah,
I'll get a
well,
tattoo if Georgia runs.
The
for 300
offensive
yards.
line.
No,
is
hang
letting
on. Let him
everybody-
say it. Say it again.
I'll get a tattoo if Georgia runs for 300 yards against Tennessee.
I don't think they're going to
Yeah.
run for 300 yards. I'm
You
just
just
saying
said it.
And
I-
let me just clarify. I'm
making
not
a
a
joke.
tattoo guy. I
Not
like
at all.
blank canvas. I'm not allowed to be buried in a Jewish cemetery if I get a tattoo.
I know.
Okay, I'll risk it all.
You're putting the tribe on the line.
First
No
off,
way.
I don't think anybody's running for 300 yards. I just don't think like
I think
them
Dylan
missing
Sampson could.
Etienne is the difference in this game.
It's not the difference. My zoom out a little bit. My handicap here, if we're trying to figure out what this thing looks like. Tennessee's banged up. Georgia's banged up. I don't see a lot of offense in this game
No.
from either team. Okay,
Right.
It's a high pressure game. It's an elimination game for Georgia. Backs against the wall, all that stuff. Like, it's a
Sure.
night game at Sanford Stadium. That place is going to be bonkers. But I just don't know how
It's-
these teams score.
It sounds like
I
you
agree.
like
I
the
agree with that.
under, and I do too. I just wonder how much you like it and how early you're willing to pull the trigger on it later on in the show.
Tripp, you get to pick first. Okay?
I know.
So I will yield those picks to you when the time
I don't think
comes.
it's not going to be my top. It's not going to be my top play.
Like, Georgia's a 10-point favorite in this game, and yet we've talked about the injury issues. Like, if
Yeah.
Nico doesn't play, I think Tennessee's in a world of hurt just because you're going to.
I just don't. I don't think he's that big of a deal, dude.
Yeah, but
I think he's kind of a big deal. I just don't think
tough
like
environment.
either one of these offenses is going to be able to score a whole lot of points.
yeah,
I agree with that.
I'm with you. I need to see something from Georgia that I don't know if they're capable of showing
yes,
us.
absolutely. I totally agree.
Which is like, a couple weeks ago, and hell, going back to the offseason, everybody had Georgia penciled in as not just a playoff team, but as a national championship contender.
Yes. The best team in the country.
And for me, Felder, you correct me if I'm wrong, and Doc, you can get in here as well. I don't have Georgia in that list right now.
Right. So we haven't done tiers in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to do tiers?
I got a 3-team tier, man, and I'm not going out on a limb here. I've got the top 3 teams in the CFP. I've got Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas.
Okay.
I am comfortable putting Alabama and Ole Miss right behind them.
Okay.
I think Ole Miss is more of a national championship threat than Georgia at this point.
I mean,
and that's not
based on what we
bias.
Based on what we saw this weekend, for sure. But yes,
it's just weapons, man. Like weapons.
It's not even
Georgia's got the defensive line. Like when those guys want it, like they can they can wreck a game. Okay,
sure.
We saw it in Austin, but dude, at some point, you're going to need to pick up chunk yardage. At some point, you're going to be able to have to sustain drives.
Correct. Yes.
And man, Georgia hasn't done that in weeks. So I'm concerned.
There's no time in the last 5 years that coming off a loss like this situation for Georgia would say jump all over Georgia in this game this weekend. But you can't do it right now because you just can't trust these guys, especially the quarterback, especially the offensive line. I mean, you saw what Ole Miss did to them last week, and Tennessee's not going to be much easier.
They're going to do the same thing defensively.
They're going to get after him too.
I know that the game's on the road for Tennessee. I just don't. The way that Georgia gave the ball away last week, and I'm sure they're obviously in practice, they're working on this in a big way. But man, the fumbles were insane. 4 forced fumbles. They recovered 2 of them, but 4 forced fumbles. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a problem.
So we'll see what this looks like. All right, what are we doing? We're done? We're good. You got something?
Is that it for your Felder 5? You got anything
Felder
left?
5's done. We got
You've emptied the clip.
Tulane Navy do anything?
I mean, you have to respect Tulane. That's basically an AAC semifinal.
Yes, it is. It's an elimination game. One of those teams is probably going to go to the actual championship game, right?
Tulane's dangerous, man. They
to play Army.
Guys, what's the running back's name? Mackay Hughes? Is it Mackay?
I almost said Pfeiffer.
It's not Mackay Pfeiffer.
Man.
I know it's not Mackay Pfeiffer. It is Hughes.
Yeah, Mackay Hughes. That guy's dude. Tulane's got some really good young talent, man. Him and Mensa, the quarterback, like those guys are both.
Dude, 1,200 yards for Mackay Hughes, and we're worried about Trevor Etienne and his 400 yards.
Yeah, look, Georgia's offense. I mean, all those guys have underperformed this year. But
if you add Georgia's top 2 rushers' numbers together, they're just over half of what Hughes has.
Yeah.
That's we have to I'm trying to do a better job of taking things into account and looking at them for actual true face value. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We're we've got to start looking at these things in reality. Their offense, it's not that it's not good, it's that it is bad.
Here's what I want to do. I have planned very poorly today. I never do this. We are going to hit pause on the show because I have my bladder is about to explode. I have to take a bathroom break. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I will too.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. We will resume. I can't. I will literally. I can't.
All right,
2 minutes.
We'll
2 minutes.
Right,
we'll run through some
Just
games.
Leave
and
it
make
running.
some picks.
We'll be right back.
2 minutes.
Yeah. Takes you 2 minutes to pee. That bathroom's right here. Oh. We've got Tripp with the super bladder.
Emptied before the show.
I did too, but I drink a lot of water during the show.
Yeah, I've been drinking coffee and water.
I don't drink coffee, man.
Really?
Not at all. I tried to be a coffee drinker, and I was like, I don't like this.
Hey, I'm sorry, but it had to be done. It's
fine. It's fine.
Absolutely had to be done. I will clean it up. I will clean it up in post.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right, let's rejoin here. 3, 2, 1. Felder, I do have a couple of games that we have not discussed. I'd like to just run by you. A little rapid fire here. Texas at Arkansas, noon kick in Fayetteville. Razorbacks are coming off a bye.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows about Texas, okay? Like they're potent, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
People fall in love with Texas's defensive statistics, right? Like they've got the number one scoring defense in the nation, or they're great against the pass. Look at the quarterbacks they've played this year. Look at the offenses they've played.
Not great.
Part of me thinks Arkansas might hang around in this game. What do you think?
I do think they will. I think they're going to hang around. I think they're going to be okay. I think the biggest thing for me, the statistic that I like about Texas is they do limit explosive plays.
Yeah, but you got Talon Green, Bobby Petrino and company coming off a bye week.
But I think that they are patient enough to not worry about explosive plays. We talked about it with Indiana. I think with Arkansas, they're fine. If they get 7 yards, they're over on those sidelines like whooping it up.
Yeah.
And if you get 7 and 7 and 4 and 4 and 7 and 7 and 4 and 6 and 5, that turns into a touchdown. And that's what I think that Texas does a really good job of limiting explosive plays. They are number one in the country in plays over 10 yards, or fewest plays over 10 yards. They are, if I'm not mistaken, they're number one or number two in the country, number one in the country in plays over 20 yards. They do a really good job of limiting explosive plays. So what they do is give you short plays. And then they tackle well. But if you miss a tackle, all of a sudden that play can turn into a big play. So I think that's where Arkansas's bread can be buttered. And when you have a coach like Sam Pittman, when you have a coach who's willing to do little things, I think that's where you go, and Petrino as well. That's where you can find success, is in these little spots where every play doesn't have to go for 75 yards.
Right.
But if you give me a play, if you give me 6 yards of play, let's go. Let's go play some football.
I could make the argument through 11 weeks, the best quarterback Texas has faced all year is Diego Pavia. That's just, because Oklahoma, no. Florida, you got a third-string Yale walk-on last year coming to Austin. Carson Beck, sure. He ain't it, though. Like, preseason Heisman, sure. But, like, mid-season guy, he ain't it. 3 picks against Texas. So, man, I don't know. I think Talon Green in Arkansas might give Texas some trouble
for sure
on Saturday. That's a noon kick. What about Boise State, San Jose State?
I wrote that down. That's all. I wrote it down, right? In Tripp, it's in the rest, right?
Broncos are feeling the heat, dude.
I don't even know. You think they're feeling the heat?
Yeah.
I think that. What do you mean by that?
Well, they didn't look very good last week.
Pressure.
Since I took them.
These guys see the bracket just like we do, man. Like,
oh yeah,
I know they see it.
So okay, so how do you control the messaging? How do you keep these guys focused? Like, people just take it for granted that, like, well, Nick Saban did it, Kirby Smart did. No, man, like, those guys don't grow on trees.
Yeah, Chitty still ran for 209 yards.
I understand. He's
put up 3 touchdowns.
They won by 7 at Nevada. San Jose State can hang. These guys can hang.
I agree. I think they can hang. The thing that I'm looking at, though, is I don't think they feel pressure. I think they understand the assignment. Are those different to you?
Yes. No, I think that's well said.
They know they can't afford to lose. they don't get, and we talked about it with Brownlow, right? Earlier in the show, this team knows they can't afford to lose. It reminds me a lot. Remember when Miami was in the Big East?
Yeah.
And they knew that the SEC, the Big Ten, even the ACC at that point with Florida State was going to try to push them out of getting to a BCS National Championship game.
Had to go 11-0. Yeah.
Have to. We have to win every game. Listening to Ed Reed talk about it, listening to Sean Taylor talk about it, and they knew they had to do it. I know, R.I.P.
Sean Taylor. That's
one of the
dead guys you brought up on the show today, man.
Well, yes. I will say this: so Sean Taylor was married to Andy Garcia. You know who Andy Garcia is?
Oh yeah,
no, but I'll look that up.
Andy Garcia, come on.
You don't know who Andy Garcia is?
He's been in a billion movies. He was in Godfather 3. Guy. He was in
Godfather 3, Ocean's 11, and Ocean's 12, if I'm not mistaken, or Ocean's 13, maybe.
He's like the villain in the Ocean's movie.
He's married to Andy Garcia's, I believe, niece. And Andy Garcia said about Sean Taylor, this is maybe one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard in my life. He said, he died the way that he played football. He was a safety, and the safety is the last line of defense. And so when Sean Taylor passed away, he died covering up his wife and kid to make sure that they were going to be okay. The last line of defense. And I cried so hard, and I'm trying not to cry right now, but it was like brutal. So love Sean Taylor. But the point I'm making, let's circle back. Jeez.
I asked you about Boise State, San Jose State, and now we've made Felder cry for the second time on this show.
I'll tell you this. As a Florida State fan, I've never in my life, and I'd probably say, if you're talking about the best defensive players I've ever seen in college football, I think I'd probably put Ed Reed maybe ahead of Sean Taylor. But sure. Sean Taylor, I have never seen a guy affect the game from the safety position more than Sean Taylor. Florida State, the only time I went to Tallahassee, I think it was the 2003 season. Chris Ricks had struggled pretty badly the year before, and they benched him for a while. They brought him back in 2003, and Florida State started really well. Bobby Bowden said it was the fastest defense he ever had. And they started the season well. They had to play, I think it was the 4th or 5th game of the year. They had to play Miami, an absolute monsoon in Stadium. I've never seen a player as a safety just absolutely take over a game the way Sean Taylor did.
He's amazing.
Chris Ricks is still having nightmares.
Sure.
That guy just flying all over the field, making hits, picking the ball off. He was so good.
Yeah. Love him.
Can't say enough about that guy.
Yeah, absolutely love Sean Taylor. No, to go back to the Boise State point. All right. Steven. I do think that I think that for them, it is about, they have to worry about game control. Remember when we used to have to talk about that a lot? Game control?
Sure.
And that's what they have to worry about. And they're looking. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that they're looking backwards at who's behind them that could jump them? Or do you think they're looking up at, do they have a chance to pass anyone?
No, I think they're looking ahead and being like, oh, we got to win the Mountain West Conference. We've got to. How awesome!
So you're talking about schedule look ahead?
Yes.
Not ranking. I'm talking about ranking.
Said than done. Yeah,
I'm talking about ranking look ahead.
They have a ceiling. I mean, they can't.
How high can they get?
People are like, well, they could surpass the Big 12 champ and be the 4 seed, but like that's out of your control.
Yeah, that's not going to happen either.
I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think it is. Especially
they won't let that happen.
Yeah, especially with BYU now.
At 6.
In the at-large discussion, even with the loss, I feel like. So, yeah, man, we'll see. I'm just saying, watch out for San Jose State this weekend. That's a Saturday night game.
Yep.
Boise State's getting everybody's best shot right now for obvious reasons.
Sure.
One more. We haven't talked about Oregon, number 1 team in the land at Wisconsin. I'm not falling for the Wisconsin stuff. I don't think they're going to win the
I
game.
fell for it. You talked me into it. Was it 2 weeks ago, last week?
What did I do?
You talked me out of a bunch of stuff, and then I went with Wisconsin +3.
Against Iowa, and they got their doors blown off.
They got destroyed.
I mean, we've seen Wisconsin host Alabama and get torched. We've seen Wisconsin.
I was
host Penn
not
State.
Alabama.
I understand. Night game, Camp Randall. Wisconsin's going to be into it. Oregon they've underwhelmed in the second halves of some of these games. Like, they let Maryland hang around. Like, you're letting the Terps put together these methodic drives. Like, they're picking up first downs. They're controlling time of possession. There are things out here that would concern me if I was an Oregon fan, as much as I think they're great. No Tez Johnson. Like, they're not 100%. They're not healthy.
Yeah, line has dipped a little bit. I'm seeing like 13.5 now, so that's kind of an important number. But it's tough to trust Oregon to cover anything. Just not a great cover team this year.
Correct. It's week 12, man. They're the top 4 teams in the country are all on the road. It's not going to go according to script, man. It's not going to be easy for these guys.
Okay.
So Oregon needs to bring it Saturday night. Otherwise. Boy, you want to talk about things getting really spicy?
Are we ready to do it then? Let's do it.
You want to make some picks?
Let's make some picks.
You ready to make some picks?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
hang on. I need to pee.
Go ahead. Take all the time you need.
That's my dog. Take that. That's my dog. Say that right, Mom. That's my dog. That's my dog. That's my dog. And anybody got to say anything, you let me know. That's my dog.
On this segment a week ago, I told you Georgia Tech was going to shock the world and beat Miami.
Yes, you did.
They were an 11-point favorite. They won outright. So, you're welcome. I don't have a ton of conviction in my pick this week. But... You want me to go first, or do you guys want to go first?
You know
you
what?
Won.
Before you go, we should say, because I'll give people credit when the credit is due, unlike some people on this show. An 11.5-point dog. That was a good pick. Honestly, it was kind of an easy pick once they got Haynes King to cover the spread, but to win outright, that was probably as heavy a dog as we've had win on the show. So that was a really good pick. Good job.
Thank you, Tripp. I appreciate
Look at that.
Thank you, man. You're just. I feel like Felder. I feel like I need a moment so that you don't see my tears on the show.
You're just too cool for school. I don't know what to do with you.
Give me UCLA tonight in Seattle. Friday night game at Husky Stadium. Bruins are hot. They've won 3 in a row. They're catching 4.5. Give me UCLA to win at Washington. 9:00 Eastern kick on Fox. Let's go. Fight
where the Huskies are undefeated this year.
Yes, they are. UCLA.
That's 4.5.
Plus 4.5 for the Bruins.
I had that on my list.
Wake Forest last week. They lost to Cal.
Yeah.
How
was it?
I saw it.
How was it?
Kids were into it, man. We had a good time.
Motorcycle,
whole shebang-a-bang. Made it on the Jumbotron, living the good life.
Tripp, what do you got?
I want Charlotte.
Woo-hoo!
Woof. Charlotte
should be favored
USF.
at home.
USF.
Yikes.
2.5.
And I'm gonna give it. This was
that's a deep cut.
Yesterday we got
USF is bad, dog.
On the Phil Still show, and Phil thinks the wrong team's favored here, and I trust the guy.
All right, so you're riding with Phil Steele.
I am.
What could go wrong?
What are you doing? Taking shots at Phil Steele now?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Is that your only pick? Because I've got a couple. Part of me feels like we should.
You gonna double up?
I'm gonna let you go. I don't want to steal your game.
You already stole mine.
You had UCLA?
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
It's all good. Here's what I got. All right, I'm gonna walk you through them. UTSA versus North Texas. I think North Texas' back is broken.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After that 14-3 game last weekend.
You're going to be hearing from me on North Texas in about 5 minutes from now for the 3-for-all.
Houston over Arizona.
Don't hate it.
Where did the Cougs come from? Where did they come from? Because they were bad.
Willie Fritz, man, coaching.
Apparently, they were really bad to start the season.
Yeah.
Let's get better each week. Like
Utah, Colorado.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake.
All right, that's a mistake. I'm going to go ahead and X that one.
I don't like that one.
You're going to talk me out of it. I'm just going to put a check mark.
You know what? I shouldn't talk you out of anything.
No, you're fine. I love when you do it. Navy at Tulane.
I think that game's in Annapolis, actually. Yeah.
Or excuse me, Navy versus Tulane. I wrote verse. I can't read my own handwriting.
Roddy liked Navy in this game. Just they play
Navy.
a lot of
Navy's on the list. Florida over LSU. We get a healthy Lagway.
He's playing.
So, all right, and there's 2 more, 3 more, 2 more, 3 more, 3 more, and I got a bonus, so 4. Tennessee over Georgia. And what do you say about Michael Felder? He doesn't shy away from big games, huh?
Not unthinkable.
Kansas BYU.
Another big game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the more we talked about it, the more I was talking myself into Kansas. I'm not picking that one just because they haven't treated me right all season long. But look at Kansas's look at their schedule.
Yeah.
Lost some close games to some pretty good teams.
I X'd out this game, but ODU, JMU was on the list. I don't want to disrespect my boy like that.
Old Dominion was going to be my bonus pick. So if you're not going to take Old Dirty, I will.
I'm not taking them. Go ahead. You take them.
Give me Old Dominion +3.
Buying
JMU
a win for his alma mater.
JMU has not won a road game in the Sun Belt all year. So why are they going to start now? Why are they favored? Probably shouldn't be. Also,
that's another Phil Steele special right there.
He likes
Nebraska,
USC.
he's
on Old Dominion. Mm-hmm.
Dude, Nebraska, USC. We have not talked about that game. One of those teams is going to shit the bed and not go to a bowl. Which one of you is it going to be?
I don't know. And it is. This game feels. It's dropping?
The line was, I'm pretty sure when we did the show yesterday.
It opened at 9.5. It's down to 7.5.
It's down to 7.5 right now. Yeah. USC's better at home, though. They are one of those teams kind of completely different on the road than they are at home. I think they're 3-1 at home this year. Only loss was to Penn State, and they should have won that game. So
they should have won that game. All right, you know what? Go ahead. Good.
I was just going to say the new quarterback for USC, Miller Moss bench.
Yeah.
We got Mayava, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the old UNLV quarterback. Yes. Not inspiring there. That might be a good underpick right there. Oof.
All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take what are the standings right now?
Great question. Glad that you asked. Felder is 7-7. Tripp is 8-6. So he's got you by 2 games. I'm 3-9, but in those 3 wins, 2 of them are double-digit dogs. JMU back in.
You're 3-9. Okay.
September.
3-9, so that's 12. So it's 3 divided by.
But I picked the biggest dogs. You guys are picking 1-2-point dogs each week.
Well, I picked the biggest games.
By the way, Felder, let me check on this.
You're at 57. I'm at 50.
Dylan Raiola, I think he's up in the air for this game.
So I'm not going to touch that one. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do it.
You can hear.
Give me Tennessee.
Yeah, Vols. Let's go, baby.
Give me Kansas. Actually, don't give me Kansas. Give me Houston.
All right. Last thing I'm seeing is Dylan Raiola will play Saturday.
There we go. Give me Houston. Give me Texas. Or excuse me, Tennessee.
All right. Not shy
Houston and Tennessee.
Houston is tonight, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Love it. Good luck. Houston +1.5. Unbelievable, dude. Like barely an underdog. All right. You ready for the main event?
How is that? Like, what's wrong with that?
I'm just saying +1 is a lot different than +7, +10, +11. But it doesn't matter. I love your picks. I love that you're out here shooting your shot. It's time for the main event.
Here comes the lock doctor. Here comes the Stephen Hartzell. 3 for all Felder Friday. Just making these picks.
It's the best intro in all of podcasting.
Making these picks.
So both of us struggled last week, Tripp. You went 0-3. I went 1-2. And my one win, as we discussed earlier, was by half a point. So for the season, we're both still delivering for the people. Tripp, 18-15. Your boy, 21-12. The lead is 3 games. So,
okay,
Doc, the floor is yours.
Let's just
go back and forth here.
Quick recap.
Yeah.
Iowa State.
Blown out.
What are you doing last week?
Trounced.
Just, over 500 yards to Kansas. Boise State. Not even close.
No.
Cincinnati, on the other hand, my top play, had I known before that Sorsby was going to be playing for West Virginia, then I probably don't make that pick because that's, 21 points.
He sounds like a lot of excuses.
Being in the Blitz studio
it's
while
just
Cincinnati was shitting the bed, watching Tripp react to that in real time made me uncomfortable.
They're driving down the field to go up 14-zip. He throws a pick six as they're about to score. He fumbled later in the first half. That leads to another score, and then he fumbles in the second half, which they picked up and ran right back into the end zone for another score. So,
that was very fast turnaround, too.
Brendan Sorsby, you owe all of us an apology.
All right, you owe us 3 picks, Tripp. So would you like to begin with the
just
selections?
for a little gamesmanship here, because I do think you like that Georgia-Tennessee under. I'm going to take that one as my first play, even though it's not really my first play. We'll go under. What do we have, Felder? What's your number? We got.
What are we looking at? Hang on.
Tennessee, Georgia, over under.
Over under 47.5.
All right. I think it's a good pick. I do. Georgia, Tennessee, under 47.5. Now, that's not your highest rated play. You're just taking that away from me, just to be clear, right?
Exactly.
All right, cool.
It's for the game.
No, it's a great game. Give me some Friday Night Lights. North Texas at UTSA. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. North Texas last week, we had the over. They
3
scored
points.
How many points?
3.
How many points did North Texas score last week? 3. Not great, Bob. So you're like, why would you go back to the mean green?
72.5.
The total is sitting at 72.5.
Yeah, it's going over.
Give me the over. North Texas, UTSA, Roadrunners. Have you been watching what these guys have been doing the last couple weeks? Not much.
Yes.
Not much on defense. This is a Friday night game, so get this in early. Get this in early, folks. That thing could be 75 by game time. Over 72 and a hook.
Hartzell, you honestly ought to take a couple more L's just for throwing out last week's 64.5 total when the game hit 10, and then the Nebraska pick a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
If you want to go back to like season-long performance, you're 3 games behind me in this game. So why don't you pick another one, big dog? Let's
All right,
go.
give me – look, I hate to do this because the line is moving so quickly towards South Carolina. What's your number for South Carolina, Felder?
All right, here we go. Pulling it up. And we got –
Don't do this, Tripp.
Why?
11.5 – or excuse me, 13.5 and 41.5. 41.5 over under, 13.5. Gamecocks are giving 13.5.
Why are you saying don't do it, Hartzell?
Listen, it's your life. It's your world. I'm just here to write the picks down.
But when we were going through the game earlier, you said Mizzou can't, they're soft.
I thought you were taking Missouri here. Sorry.
No.
You like South Carolina.
Yeah, I'll take South Carolina. It's under 14. I'll take. I don't like that it keeps going up.
It came down from 14. It started at 14.
Well, yesterday it was like 11.
I thought you were going to take Missouri here, and I was just going to pull up the games they've played against ranked SEC teams on the road because I think they've lost by an aggregate of, quick math here, 75-10 at Texas A&M and Alabama. So, yeah, Missouri, as Lauren Brownlow so accurately pointed out earlier, why are they ranked? Why are they here? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Get them out of here. Good pick, Tripp. That's a night game? No, 4:15. That's a little mid-afternoon game.
Yes, that's a 4:15
Bryce.
kick. Is that on the net?
SEC Network. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already given you a Conference USA game. Let's go to Mountain West Conference. We talked about it earlier briefly. I just wanted to check the pulse of these guys. Give me San Jose State catching 2 touchdowns at home against Boise. 7 o'clock kick, excuse me. On CB, I got hoops on the brain, dude. I got to run a hoops broadcast later tonight. So does Tripp. November's just
14 points.
San Jose State plus 14 at home against Boise. Wouldn't be surprised if they win outright. I don't have the balls to pick it, for that's my dog. But Nick Nash and them boys going to give Boise
I think that I really think that Boise State's just like, we have to get to the end.
Yeah.
I jumped on San Jose a few weeks back, and that's my dog. I can't remember. It was week 9. I don't remember who they were playing, though, but they let me down.
Well, hopefully they'll come through for you here. Tripp's going to bust out the Boise State pom-poms on Saturday night and root against me because that's where we are. All right, Tripp, third and final pick of week 12, sir.
This is tough. I like Wake Forest. UNC has been terrible as a double-digit favorite this year, but I'm thinking maybe I like the over even better here. Can you get me a total on Wake and UNC?
63-5.
Give me the over. Give me the over in Wake UNC.
Somebody's going to get a nail in the coffin.
Okay.
One nail. Just one.
Hit it.
Because if Wake loses, they're going to be 4-6. UNC will be 5-5 if they lose.
Yeah.
And they're both of them. One of them's going to be one away from it probably not working out in terms of bowl game.
Man, this is what separates the men from the boys right here.
What are your games on your radar?
I've given out a lot of trash, but we're gonna go to another really stinky game. Saturday night, UAB at Memphis, okay, at the Liberty Bowl.
16.
UAB. No, I'm not interested in the point spread. I'm interested in the total.
62-5.
UAB. I mean, you want to talk about just a sieve defensively. Look at what Trent Dilfer and them boys are up to. Memphis can obviously light it up. I'm going to go over in a little American After Dark. Memphis UAB over 62.5. I don't love this play. There's a lot of other stuff that I'm leaving on the cutting room floor here.
Wow.
But I'm
UAB,
going to UAB Memphis.
major top 3.
Yeah.
UAB 124th in total defense.
It's pretty bad, right?
35 points a game.
It's generally not good. Memphis is coming off of some pretty impressive offensive performances the last couple of weeks, and I think they're going to get right. Everybody gets right against UAB. So
they did score 59 points against Tulsa.
40-14. That would be a great final in that game.
I know. Tripp's openly rooting against me. It's an honor, really.
You're doing the same thing.
That I'm doing something right in life. So to recap, Tripp likes the under in Georgia, Tennessee. He likes South Carolina laying 13.5, and he likes the Wake UNC over. My picks are all disgusting. North Texas UTSA Friday night over 72.5.
There's no way that's going to happen, dude.
There's no way that North Texas UTSA over is going to hit?
No.
All right, here's what's going to happen. That game kicks at 8 o'clock, right around 10:15, 10:30 Eastern time tonight, Felder. You're going to get a text from me.
I can't wait.
Over.
And that text is just going to be the eyes. You know, the emoji with the eyes when they're looking off to the side like this?
Yeah, the side eye.
That's going to be the text you get from me.
Okay. That game might go
Texas,
over at
UTSC
halftime.
over, San Jose State plus 14 against Boise, and UAB Memphis over Saturday.
I'll be watching the Mike Tyson fight
at the Liberty Bowl. You know, I too have gotten in the invitation. Let's talk about this before we wrap up the show. That fight isn't going to start until late.
Yeah,
Friday
I know.
Night, right? Like, what are we thinking? Like 11 o'clock? Because there's like 4 or 5 fights.
There's
before
6. I think there's 6 before. It's a 7-match card, and it's not going to start until after those fights.
Like it may not start until midnight, right?
I'm watching it. I need Mike Tyson to beat the wheels off this guy.
So I have a Netflix account. Is this a pay-per-view event? Do I have to pay more?
It's not pay-per-view. Okay. It's free on Netflix.
Okay, so if you have Netflix, you just log in and it's there.
It's there.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Just like if you have Amazon Prime, you log in, the NFL game, Thursday night NFL's on.
I'm with you. How old is Mike Tyson? He's in his 50s, right?
He's 58 or 59, yes.
That's amazing. I hope he knocks this dude out.
Did you see him slap him?
I did. I'm not a Jake Paul fan.
Neither am I. But I also, here's what the thing, this isn't even about being a Jake Paul fan or not. My feet hurt all the time. And that's from getting stepped on. When you're in a huddle, when you're a safety in the huddle, you have to stand behind the defensive line. So a huddle's constructed like this. So you have your Mike linebacker in the front, your 4 defensive linemen, and then your safeties and your corners go behind the defensive linemen, and then the other 2 linebackers are on the side. And so getting stepped on by a 300-pound man hurts very badly. And so my feet hurt, and they will never not hurt. So when someone steps on my foot, it hurt. And so I understood completely, like Mike Tyson saying, I have bad feet. And when you step on them, it hurts. Makes him go insane. And so he slapped him. So I get it. So we're ready to rock and roll. We are going to watch. I will be watching for you for North Texas. That's going to be on the iPad.
Okay.
I'm throwing that one on the
Jake
iPad.
Paul, minus 200 to win. Jake Paul, by the way. Minus 200.
So people, that means they expect him to win.
He's the favorite. Mike Tyson going off at plus 160. I'm sure those odds will change between now and
we'll see what happens. I mean, I really need Mike Tyson to win, man.
Feels like a money grab here. I don't know anything about it, but it just feels like let's pretend to hate each other and do a bunch of stuff. I don't know anything about I guess there's 2 Paul brothers or whatever.
Yes.
Never watched anything on either one of those guys. So I don't really know why this is happening, but
it's money. So the varsity app, Hartzell?
Yeah, you should probably check it out. It's free, and it's your exclusive home for the Blitz, streaming for free on Saturdays. Check it out. Red Zone Radio for college football. You can listen to your team's football games, basketball games, coaches shows. You can listen to Tripp and I having a good time in there on Saturday for the Blitz. So check it out wherever you get your apps. Varsity app. Speaking of apps, I'm hungry, man. I'm about ready to eat.
Dude,
Thanks to Lauren Brownlow for joining us.
Well, we got it. Hey, what about
these games, homie?
Yeah, I'm excited for the games. Thanks. Shout out to Lauren Brownlow. Make sure you check her out. Also, the Gower Hour weekly on the College Sports Now feed. You can Rob Joyce and Megan Gower.
Look at you shouting out some women's basketball podcast.
I love women's hoops, dude. Absolutely. I also have to drive to the pool Saturday morning to hopefully find my kids' sneakers that she left
there.
there. So.
Nobody stole your sneakers, man.
Special fall ball baseball podcast. What?
Yeah, the boys got Tony Vitello. He's the head coach at Tennessee, in the national championship. So that's out. If you need college baseball content in November, those people exist, man. So we've got that. It's in the feed. Check out Kyle Schasberger and David Kahn doing their work. And hey, while we're shouting out shows, Tripp does the Phil Steele show on Thursdays. It is there. You can listen to a full hour of the doc and the Godfather going back and forth, making picks.
Getting in the weeds.
You can find out where...
Stay off the weed!
Lay off the weed. in the words of Stephen A. Smith. Yes.
Thanks for
So,
everybody
folks,
watching that show, too. We've been getting a lot of views, so we
you've been
appreciate
getting
everybody checking
a
it
lot
out.
of views from folks who are incarcerated as well. They're in the comments talking about
We're
how much they
we're
love
getting people
watching the
through
show
some
in
stuff,
jail.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Have you got any mail, like real physical mail?
No, it's just folks commenting about how the show gets them through the hard time that they're serving at such and
Good.
such correctional facility. It's a true story. The show is available on YouTube.
So am I.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's a real thing.
And also, make sure you check out hitthepodshop.etsy.com. Get yourself a koozie. We're on the BOGO game now.
For the holidays, yes. Hanukkah and Christmas are right around the corner, folks.
Kwanzaa.
Friends by friends, hit D koozies for the holidays. You
guys can hang out at the pool together. By the way, I just paid for the pool for this summer.
Childcare ain't cheap, buddy. That's why Tripp and I are here trying to give you winners on Friday.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Folks, for Felder, for the Doc, I'm Stephen Hartzell. Enjoy Week 12. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you guys early next week. Peace.